we have our first caller calling in on the line.
Yes, we do.
It's Leslie Bond, so we're going to bring her in. Man, it is so fantastic to have you on the show. Can you tell us where you're calling in from?
I'm calling from Clearwater, Florida.
Okay, love it. So what is your question? What can we help you with in your insurance business?
So my question is, of course, I've told you I'm all in with Reminder Media. I'm doing magazines, I'm doing postcards, and I've done the 1-year Facebook plan. Okay. So I'm all in.
Awesome.
My nervousness is right now in insurance, my focal group right now is people approaching 65 for Medicare. They're kind of easy. They're on Facebook. They are looking at stuff that's coming in the mail. They still are. But I have an age group coming up. My kids are 42 and 35. They don't look at marketing in the mail. They're not on Facebook. They're not answering stuff in the mail. They're not seeing regular TV ads. They're not listening to a radio for ads. How does that look going forward for these kids that are in the 25 to, or kids, I'm older, obviously. These kids that are in like the 25 to 40-year-old range as they're coming up, how do we market to them? Where's the avenues going for the future for this?
Awesome. Great question. One clarifying point for me, so I understand. You're selling Medicare as one avenue. What else are you selling in insurance? Do you do property casualty or health and life?
No, I'm doing health and life. So I have health, I have ancillary products. I really liked my market. I'm in Medicare now because it's a quick one to get into, right?
Yes.
My heart and soul is talking to young families for life insurance, what it can really do for your family. It's not just if you pass away, it'll pay off the house for whoever survives. There's more to it for how it can benefit your family. And that's where I want to go.
Yep. Well, I'll answer the question for you the way I would think about it, right? So this is how I ultimately, and I'm 37 years old and I'm still on Facebook. So that also tells you something about maybe the 40 years old or, they're still close to Facebook. Steve, how old are you?
33.
33, and you're on Facebook. I see you there sometimes. Well, I am definitely more on Instagram, but I would tell you the key to all marketing, right, is the concept is you want to get people to know, like, and trust you. That's ultimately it. So the mediums of distribution are just ways to get known, ways to get liked, ways to get trusted. But the foundation of every marketing actually comes down to, Leslie, have you built your list of people that you want to go after? And that is why you hear people talk all the time about your sphere, right? You want to create this sphere. So I would then go, hey, do you have a list of the 25 to 40-year-olds that you're talking about, your friends, your kids, your friends, the kids' friends? Do you have that list? First activity that's even better than being on social is how do you actually connect with them to get their names, addresses, and email addresses? Because it gets you to the more powerful platform, which is email, because email, you control it. The algorithms are obviously controlled by TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and those could change any moment. But if you spend time actually going, hey, well, how do I develop a list of people, even if it's only 10, even if it's only 20, how do I develop a list and then market to them through email? But then this is how you can think about social. How do I go and actually friend them on social, whatever platform they're on? If they're on Instagram, and they probably are, if they're 25 to 40, how do I follow them and they can follow me back on Instagram and engage with their content? And the reason why I say that, and I don't mean this offensively, you're probably not going to put out a ton of content that the 25 to 27-year-old
I know.
is going to connect with.
That's why I'm posing the question. I'm not
exactly
doing the influencer thing. I don't have it in me.
And I probably wouldn't even try because it won't return the dividends. And this is, I think, a lie in the industry right now that everybody has to be an influencer, where that's just not true because not everybody's built to be an influencer. So what I would focus on if I were you is going, well, I have this audience of 25 to 40-year-olds that I want to reach. You've got to see if you can get that list, because the key to all growing a business, for whether it's Reminder Media, Stephen, Acre Brothers Realty, is I got to get the list and then hit the list. And so the first step is, can I get the names and addresses, and can I go friend them on social? And then can I engage with them on social by just commenting on their posts, liking things, not strangely, but just naturally through the flow of life. And then you put out 3 types of content, but really zone it in my book, is you put out content that's educational on the topic that you're an expert in. So like health and life insurance, if you're an expert in that, then you put out educational content on health and life insurance.
That speaks to that audience.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
That speaks to what should a 25-year-old be thinking about right now when it comes to health and life insurance.
Yeah, exactly.
And you put that out, but know that they won't watch that if you're not engaging with them, because you're not going to be putting out influencer-based content, right? There's no way you can just get on Instagram and do an educational post on, what 25-year-olds should be thinking about life insurance, and it's going to blow up for you. That's probably not going to happen. But what will happen is if you take the time to do the first step, which is build the list, friend the people on social, get their names and addresses so you can send them an email, and then you put out the educational content, they actually might pay attention because you're engaging with them on social. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense.
Yeah, because the basis of the question is, how can I get more clients in that demographic? Is that right? Like, that's like the base.
Well, I'm planning ahead. Yeah, I'm planning ahead because right now my demographic is a little different, but I want to know over the next 2 years, how do I build that so I can target that demographic? And I see, I see it changing. I see the trends changing. The kids aren't going to do what I'm used to doing for marketing.
Yeah. Right. So then, the question then you pose is like, all right, how can I get my social media game up in order to hit that, if that's the main way? Which what Luke is proposing is that exact thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be social. Like, it doesn't have to be social media that you obtain that. It's by working your sphere and working that pillar, if you will.
And I would say it's not going to be social for the majority of agents out there. Right. And some listening might disagree with me, but I do not think it will be social for the majority of agents out there. It will be relationship. And social media is just an avenue to influence relationship, influence trust. And the better use of your time is spent going, how do I build the email list or the following that I'm actually following Stephen and Cody, who are in their 20s and 30s. I'm actually following them there, and I'm engaging with their content. That is what will get you into their ecosystem, that when the timing's right, they might choose you as their agent, especially if you're putting out educational content. But the crux of my answer is all around build the list, because in the list, you get a build and get to know Cody, Luke, Steven, Josh, and you don't need 1,000, 2,000 people. You just need 150 people that actually know Leslie.
Right.
And actually engage with Leslie, because each of them are connected to 6 other people their age and more, and they will trust you and they'll refer you and all that stuff. That's really the crux.
The other super important part with that generation is that they are the most likely to look you up online and form an opinion of trust or distrust almost immediately. And they're so like, they won't just look up your Instagram. Are you on Instagram? You have Instagram and social media. All right. So they won't just like look up your Instagram. They'll look at all of the comments on your Instagram. They'll look at your reviews. They will be able to research you faster than anybody because they're just so used to using the technology. So focusing on, once you have the list, once you have the ability to get those items of value out there to your people and give them the content that they want, also making sure that you're looking at your online presence, and that whenever they do look you up, there is enough there for them to build a trust to then, obviously speak and do further business with you.
And you said you're using the Reminder Media social content, which is great. You have a bunch of ebooks in there, so make sure you get on with one of the marketing coaches. There's a ton of ebooks that have been created for insurance that are, the whole idea is to build trust, is like things they should know about insurance. Same with educational content in your social media library that you can post. But your action items from this, in my mind, is to not overthink how do I connect to this generation by being on TikTok necessarily, is to just go, how do I grow the database? How do I grow the database? How big is Leslie's database today? How big's your database?
About 50. Again, 50, I'm in my first year, so I'm just.
Yeah, exactly. So you're doing good. So next time we talk to you, how do you make sure you have 100 in that database? Like, that is the activity that is the better activity than the, I got to be producing all this content on TikTok or on Instagram, even though you're going to use that. And there are going to be mediums of distribution you put content out on. But the real thing is like, hey, what is judging Leslie's success? I promise you, if you focus on growing that database from 50 to 100 to 150, Leslie will dominate in the space. If you focus on just putting out content on social and just trying to put, then you won't dominate in the space. You know why? Because everybody and their mother's trying to put content out on social. And what connects, you either have to be an incredible personality, I'm not saying you're not, Leslie, but you have to be just this incredible influencer that's going to resonate and do great video editing. And 9 times out of 10, that's not the average agent. So what you have to do is go, how do I build this list? So next month, you should ask yourself, how many names did you add to the list? The following month, you should ask you how many names, and then you should start segmenting your list by the age groups. And then you go, what am I posting for this age group in my list? Like what educational content? And then you have the different lenses to where you can then go, okay, for my Instagram this week, I'm going to do a post on, hey, if you're 25 to 30 years old, this is what you should be thinking about when you're thinking about life insurance. But those who are 60 years old, I have a video coming next week that I'm going to post for you of what you should be thinking of, because there are differences in between. And like you can start then thinking about your content, but think about it through the lens of the list. You have been amazing, Leslie. We really appreciate
Thank you guys so much.